We have just had today's preview from Games Workshop in relation to their Not 40k releases, which I guess is to make up for all of the lots of focus that they've had on the Viathon recently, which, is fine. We've got 6 pieces to get through. So there's City of Sigmar, there's some Horus Heresy, Warcry, Weird Hollow, Warhammer the Old World, and the new release of Epic. I will get onto it later. I'm obviously just off the cuff here. We're just going to give some thoughts and observations, and we'll see how it is relevant stuff that I guess happens on the channel. So, first of all, we have, the Cities of Sigmar for Age of Sigmar. I honestly think this is a great addition, both for the Age of Sigmar game and for Warcry, which is probably where I'm going to be a little bit more focused using these, because we finally have standard humans. So for a long time, it has been the Stormcast who have been the kind of poster boy humans. But they're not. They're like superheroes. To actually kind of get an idea of what's going on and what's on the... It's better to have humans on the ground. So I think a lot of people, like me, really relate to having characters and fighters and warbands where you've just got a bloke with a sword and a shield and he's human. So you kind of can, feel like maybe I could fill those shoes with, a lot more cardio. So yeah, I love this. So this box set has 20 essentially guardsmen, men-at-arms. It's got 5 mounted knights. You've got a sorcerer who's kind of interesting. So it's a metal-focused sorcerer. And you've got a leader and his assistant. So have to admit, I love the style of this. I think it's a fantastic look. I think there's going to be tons of places where you could play this, whether that's Age of Sigmar or whether that is going to be in Warcry. We haven't really had a lot of support for Warcry insofar as going down from Age of Sigmar to Warcry. We did obviously get the big compendium at the start of the new version of Warcry, which has had tons of stuff. But we haven't had it the other way. So anytime there's been a big release for Age of Sigmar, we haven't immediately got the rules for it in Warcry. We did get some for Underworlds, which I'll talk about that later. But chances are we're not going to get Warcry rules for this, but we will be able to use the generic versions that we already have. So for a lot of these, we're going to be looking at the Free Guild guards with swords and shield. Which one is... There is a mounted version in there as well. So I guess you could use the Demigryph Knight version of it, which will kind of get the job done. So yeah, fantastic release. I absolutely love it. Definitely tempted to pick up a box myself. Next one here is very interesting. So obviously this is an awesome centerpiece model for your Cities of Sigmar, Age of Sigmar warband. It looks amazing. Probably not the sort of thing that I'd be too keen on tackling. I think this is the sort of thing that you pick up if you have a big Age of Sigmar army and you want to go down that route. Now, if you wanted, though, this is a Manticore. So we don't have any monster rules for Manticore, but you could certainly sub in something else, which would give another monster to fight against, which could be cool. Moving over to Horus Heresy, we have some big knights. So obviously we have these versions in Titanicus, and then these are just the big 40k or big 30k versions of them in plastic. So this isn't really a new release insofar as you could have got them in resin from Forge World already, but obviously it's going to be a lot cheaper and a lot easier to work with in plastic. I will say that these are going to be playable in 40k, so technically this is a 40k reveal in the no 40k reveals reveal. Anyway, we'll move on from that. Warcry. So from the previews, we kind of figured we were going to be in a Kruleboyz, and this is exactly what we have. This looks awesome. I think this is a fantastic look. It is clearly Gur focused. You've obviously got the baboons, and you've got all of the skulls and the skins they're wearing are all lizardmen based. So obviously these are Kruleboyz who are going in hunting the Seraphon within the ruins. And those eggs, there's some speculation about what they could be, but the idea, I guess, is you go in, you capture the eggs of some ferocious beast, and then you're able to train it up yourself as something for your own warband, which is kind of it's a cool, neat idea. We'll obviously need to see how the rules for this play out. It'll be certainly interesting to see. But amazing looking models. I'd be interested to see how those baboons could be used in other places. So obviously, a Warcry warband is its own thing. These guys will not be part of the Kruleboyz faction. If we're following by the pattern that we've seen so far, this will be a brand. Actually, I think we do have a name for them already. Give me a couple of seconds as I click through, because I think they did say it in the... So these are the Monsta-Killaz. So the Monsta-Killaz will be their own new warband. So you could take some of the heroes from the Kruleboyz, or you'll be able to take this big leader. So this big boy could join a normal Kruleboyz list. So maybe there's not going to be a lot of crossover. I think they could certainly improve the way they approach that. For example, they could have those baboons as just a generic trawl. So if they had it as something that any of the destruction warbands could use, I think that would be a great addition to it. Anyway, look, it's a fantastic looking warband. It fits perfectly with the theme that we've currently got going in the Gnarlwood, which does suggest that we're going to keep going with that for a while longer. It is noticeable that we didn't see any reveal or any preview for the upcoming intro box set, which we've already seen spoilers for, but they were spoilers. But we haven't had any reveal. It is supposed to be coming out around the same time as these. The reveal list did have them both for summer, so a Destruction Warband and a Destruction Warband and the new starter set were both due to be coming out in summer, I believe. Let me pull up my list here. No, I lie, actually. So the starter set's due out in summer, so soon. And then in autumn, we're due 4 warbands. And it says Order versus Destruction. So fingers crossed we get to see some of the Cities of Sigmar, so we can use those models. That would be amazing. But yeah, so that warband is only out in autumn, and we still haven't seen any news for our summer release, which is presumably soon. Yeah, that's strange. Anyway, moving on. Next, we have Skabbik's Plaguepack, which I am super excited to see. This does look awesome. So obviously, we've only just recently done the Skaven video for Warcry. These models are amazing. We recently did the Lustry video, which talks about Clan Pestilence a lot, and all of these guys are Clan Pestilence. So yeah, decay, censors full of plague smoke, good lord, whatever it is. Oh, that cute little rat with his little warp rock. It looks amazing. I'm super happy with this. Now, as I'll talk about in a second, this is an Underworlds release. I'm a little bit more focused on Warcry personally. I don't think we're going to see Warcry rules for this. We had been getting spoiled for a while with getting them in the White Dwarfs, but that seems to have faded out. We haven't seen anything in a while for any new ones. And I think the incentive for GW is once something new comes out, they'll put something in White Dwarf to encourage us to buy it. I don't think they're going to put something out previously. So we certainly could see this, but there has been a drop-off on the Warcry rules updates for Warhammer Underworlds, so we may have to use these as just generic fighters. And look, that's fine. There are fighters that match perfectly with these. If you look at that Skaven video and kind of pick them out, you'll find something in there for each of them. This, however, is an Underworlds warband. I have to admit, I'm not experienced enough to know whether it is good or not. It is more rats. It's going to be fun, no matter what. So, yeah, an extra warband that has a bunch of rats can only be good. I don't imagine there's going to be problems with it. Warhammer the Old World, we get a new Bretonnian knight. This is one of the Bretonnian standard bearers. Looks awesome, looks great. Resin, unfortunately. So, there has been a lot of excitement, a lot of hype around how they are going to release the Old World. Unfortunately, I think GW are starting to slowly kill the hype. This is the second big release where they've just shown us 1 or 2 models, and they tell us that it's going to be a resin model. That's a little unfortunate. The kind of perfect place where you want is a big brand new release, tons of plastic kits, and you go to town. Good chance that we will have a box for Warhammer the Old World when it comes out, that it'll be 2 factions versus each other, and they'll both be plastic. Now, whether that's Bretonnians versus Tomb Kings or some other setup, I don't know. I'm not up to date on what the speculation on that is. If they can do it that as plastic, great. If we're going to see a lot of Forge World resin releases and kind of old sculpts being rehashed, that might make things a little bit difficult, which is a real shame, because Warhammer the Old World has, a lot of hype, a lot of following. There obviously were problems with it the first time round, where people built up their armies and didn't have the incentive to get new things. But, I mean, that's the same situation for all of them, You have to just keep getting people interested and excited by producing new things, new approaches. We're seeing with the General's Handbook that's just come out for Age of Sigmar, where it's set in a new area. There's kind of a new focus. I think the new one is on wizards and countering wizards or something. I'm not up to date with that. But it would be a real shame if they didn't actually take the opportunity to do Warhammer the Old World right. And I feel like they're probably not going to. Anyway, we'll see how that plays out. The important thing for me, again, my focus tends to be more on the skirmish games. So in this case, it can be Warcry. We are going to be able to put together some really cool Warcry warbands from these. Like, you definitely could do a Bretonnian one. That'll look great. Whether you're using one of the Cities of Sigmar rules for it, or whether you just go really meta and use the rules for the Flesh Eater Courts. You could do a lot of cool stuff with that. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. This, from this set, is the big reveal. And I don't know how I'm going to play into this, because I do have a decent collection of Titanicus and I do have a decent collection of Aeronautica. And they are both going to be legal for this. So, when this book comes out, all of the Titans and all of the aircraft for Aeronautica are going to be slotted in with rules, so you can play them in this Legions Imperialis. That's a bit of a clunker of a name. I did play Epic when it came out. I did get, I think it was a 3rd edition box. Yeah, so there was tons of Space Marines and Eldar and Orc. I've actually never seen them do a weird split like that before, but it was a lot of fun. This looks like it could be awesome. I guess you could split that box, but it's probably more likely to be a single big kit buy. For Titanicus specifically, they did talk about how the weapon arms for the Warhounds are actually done in plastic, whereas these were resin options before. So I don't think there are new weapons being added, but they are certainly being made a little bit easier to get, which is cool. The bases are also a little flatter than the ones we're used to. So we did actually spot that in a early picture like a month, 2 months ago, and people started asking questions going, oh, does this mean Epic? And it did. They actually updated the picture to edit it out so you couldn't see that base. But the important thing for us is it makes no difference. The base size is just to kind of, by having the slimmer base, the narrow or the smaller base, it doesn't take up the board so much, was the idea. But if you're going to take out your existing Titans, you can drop them down and it's not going to make any difference to your actual gameplay. So that's cool. For what the game's going to be like, it is a bit of a tricky one. I think if GW do like they did with Titanicus and embrace the new design kind of aspects that are out there and focus on making a good game rather than what I think they tend to do with a lot of their games, and this is my big critique of 40k in general, is that they're keeping to the old school feel of the game, if that makes sense. Anytime you hear me talking about any of the games I'm interested in, one of the things I'll always talk about is the I go you go thing. I do not like when you move all of your men and you shoot all of your guys and then it goes over to your guy for your turn. I like a little bit more interactive where one unit operates, the other unit operates, and kind of a back and forth, a little bit more dynamic. just because I don't like that that big turn where it's very alpha, and if the alpha, whoever gets the first alpha off work, tends to win those games a lot of time. Anyway, I'm getting a bit off topic. The important thing here is if it is a well-developed, well-reasoned kind of new rule set that's learning from the past, I think it'll be great. If they go back, and I have to admit, it's been a while. I seem to recall there being, unit orders and stuff like that in the version I played, but I might be getting confused with a different game. I did have a look at some of the rule sets that you can find floating around at the moment, and I didn't see that aspect to it. I think there was a bit of a back and forth, but it was more one person moves all their troops, the other person moves all their troops, then you shoot all your troops, and then the other person shoots all their troops. So it'll be interesting to see how they go for it. If they do manage to nail the rules, I think this will be pretty amazing. We already, and you can see in the background of this picture, we already have a lot of Titanicus scenery. If you are interested in this, what you probably should do is go out and buy one of the Aeronautica Thunderhawk gunships and have a look at the options there. There's a lot of cool stuff that could be done with this. And if you're interested, you can start now. You can buy your Aeronautica, you can buy your Titanicus, and you can buy that scenery. So the scenery sets that they have for Titanicus are absolutely fantastic. They're modular. It does add up, but they are very, very cool. And of course, we have third parties that are already well invested in not just the scenery and Titanicus, but also like Epic never went away for some people. People are still out there printing off their Epic scale models and still playing with their revised, updated, or classic rules, depending on their personal persuasion. If they completely fail and this ends up being a bit of a mess, for me at least, I think this is going to be great scenery for my Titanicus games. I'm going to be able to put little men on bases. I'm going to be able to drop tanks onto scenery and emplacements. So, this is going to be a win-win for me. I think Titanicus is a absolutely fantastic game, and probably one of the best out there, at least in the GW wheelhouse. That said, PG keeps talking about Lord of the Rings. I definitely should check that out sometime and see what he's talking about. But I absolutely adore the Titanicus rules. So yeah, this is pretty cool. And one question that we have now is in relation to Aeronautica. So Titanicus has been getting kind of a slow stream of releases. Aeronautica has not. Aeronautica seems to have dried up, and a lot of people have been wondering if that's going to be it, which would be a real shame, because the classic thing that gets everyone into Aeronautica, and that certainly got me in, I made the mistake of rereading Dan Abnett's Double Eagle, like many people end up doing, and then the next day I had found myself with a large Aeronautic collection. But we've not seen the Chaos side of that yet. So those books are very much classic Imperials versus Chaos flying in the skies, and we still haven't seen those models for Aeronautica. Horus Heresy is going to be, in theory, Imperials versus Imperials. So we have these guys painted up as Death Guard, but they're all classic Death Guard. As we saw with Titanicus, you can certainly release that way, and then down the line what you can do is you can add in some corrupting aspects and kind of go down that route. So it might be a case where they'll release with completely loyal on each side, and then down the line we'll see some Chaos Demons, and we'll maybe see some Chaos Flyers come in. I think that would be big, and if they do so, hopefully they don't just release it for Legions Imperialis, but they also release it for Aeronautica. Because I think it is a fantastic game. We did one of the battle reports on the channel. I think it is some of my best work, so please do check it out if you get a chance. It is a long one, but we got a nice narrative intro at the start and at the end, and we've got, I don't know, it was a good time. It was a lot of good banter back and forth during the game, so it was very enjoyable, at least to play, and I think it is to watch. Yeah, so this is interesting. I don't want to say I'm excited about it yet. I want to see some rules. I want to see what's going on. So we've had new City of Sigmar, which I am very excited about. I think that's great. Horus Heresy Knights, if you got the cash, they look amazing. Another warband for Warcry, but yeah, interestingly, not that starter set yet. Another Skaven warband for Underworlds. I probably should go pick up the Clan Eshin warband. I haven't done that yet because they're part of the double box, and I have been putting off. But I probably should. Old World looks awesome. Disappointing that it's resin. And then, of course, we have these Legions Imperialis, which have the definite potential to be amazing, and I hope we're not disappointed. Well, that's my thoughts on it. Hope you enjoyed listening to me rant. If you've got any thoughts yourself, please do post them in a comment. I'd love to hear what people think about this. It looks exciting, and yeah.